Great morning, mi gente. Great Sunday. Welcome to my home. I'm very excited because this morning I'm going to be sharing my space with Amita Chopra. She is a pediatrician that she has practiced in Boston Children's Hospital and in Mass General Hospital. And today she's going to be sharing us what is to live a purpose-driven life, cultivating meditation in a state of consciousness. So please help me welcome Amita Chopra. Oh, there we go. Let me unmute her. You might have to unmute yourself, Amita. The mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now
you can hear me. I can hear you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Yvonne. It's a great privilege, really, to speak with all our friends. Some of them I think I met earlier in Puerto Vallarta, which was lovely. And what I'm going to do today is really just talk in a very informal way about meditation, just a simple introduction to meditation, what it is, what it can do for you. And please do feel free, Yvonne, to pause me, stop me at any time, and we can ask whatever questions you would like, and that's just fine.
No, Lisa, I just want to tell the audience that Amita is such a master in what she does. Literally, I know you guys know me for Be a Shadow Boss, but this morning, this Sunday, this is Amita's show, and we're going to be learning and listening to Amita all about meditation and all the great benefits that you can reap from this beautiful state of consciousness. So please, let's join Amita and learn from her.
So I'm going to actually, in this talk, what I'll do is we'll talk a little bit about what is life, what is the purpose of life, what we try to do to attain our purpose, why we get so stressed, what stress can do to us. And then I'll talk a little bit about how nature works and how simple and easy it is for nature to be so orderly. And then I'll talk about the nature of reality and how the modern scientists look at it, and how our ancient rishis and the sages and the seers all over the world, and also from India, looked at it. And then I'll pull it all together for you and tell you what meditation is, and then some benefits of it. So the first thing then is, just to ask ourselves the simple question for a moment. Just answer in your mind, what is life? What does that mean to you? What is life? And whatever you say to yourself is actually true, because life is different for each person. The meaning of life really is, when we say, what is life? It is nothing more than a series of experiences. So whatever we did yesterday, what we're doing today, and what we're going to do tomorrow, the past, present, and future. So nothing other than a series of experiences. So, and the whole purpose then of life is to make our experiences happy and wonderful. And so, when we ask ourselves this question in going through life, who am I? And where did I come from? And why am I here? What am I doing here? Where am I going? So the main big question for all of us is, who am I? And I can tell you right away that if you know the answer to that question, you don't have to listen to me at all, because then you are already enlightened. I mean, literally, it's knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. That's the one thing that you know, by knowing which everything else can be known. But we ask ourselves, who am I? And we don't really know that. And so when I said, who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? So what is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? And the purpose of our life, according to the sages and seers of old, is the expansion of bliss. Everything that we do in life, we do because we want to be happy, right? So when it is actually Mark Twain, and Sanjeev talks about it a lot. In fact, he has a book by that same name, Mark Twain, who said, what are the two most important days of your life? And the first most important day, of course, is the day that we are born. And then most people, when we say, what is the second most important day of your life? They say, oh, the day we die. No, no. It is the day you find out why you were born. So what is the purpose of your life? And like I said before, the purpose of life is the expansion of bliss. Now we know that in order to be happy, what we really need to do, of course, we are born with a set point in happiness. So, 50% of our happiness depends on a set point that you're born with. You're either just very, very, an angry person, or a quiet person, or a happy person, or a, sad person by nature. But those things can be changed. We know that they can be changed by what you eat, your exercise, by medication. We know behavioral cognitive therapy can change, our happiness level. We know that the most important thing that can change our happiness is gratitude. And gratitude, they say that if you don't speak the language of gratitude, you will never be on speaking terms with happiness. That's really, I love that. If you don't speak the language of gratitude, you will not be on speaking terms with happiness. It can really change your whole life to be grateful.
May I pause for a second? I would like to share that with the audience in Spanish. That is
Sure.
so beautiful and so essential for human nature to understand. What Amita just said is that the importance of gratitude, that if you don't speak the language of gratitude, si uno no habla el lenguaje de demostrar gracia en el corazón, que es gratitud, pues uno nunca va a saber hablar el lenguaje de la felicidad. And that is so beautiful. I just wanted to share that in Spanish. You may contribute, Amita. Thank you.
So, and other than gratitude, of course, we know what makes us happy is that's the set point is like 50% of our happiness. 40% of our happiness is voluntary action. So when we are helping other people, when we are spending time with our friends and celebrating everything, when we practice forgiveness, those are great things that make us happy. And the only 10% of what we think will make us happy is our living conditions, which means the clothes I wear, the house I live in, the cars I drive, how much money I have in the bank, my success, my achievements, my name, my form. All of those things are only 10% important for our happiness. But you know what? That's what we all focus on. We forget about the most important things. Now, in focusing on those things, what do we do in our lives? We strive harder and harder, and we work from morning until night, and we are trying to have more and more and more. But our nature as humans is nothing is ever enough. We're always looking for more and more and more, because we are not happy with the simple, mundane, ordinary things in life. We have that deep yearning inside for something that's much bigger and better than us. And as we strive and strive, what do we do every day? Working harder and harder, we accrue stress. And then after we have all those things, you realize, yes, you are happy. You have a brand new car, you're happy for a few days, but then after that, it's nothing more than a car, right? So then after that, you say, no, but we want something more. What am I looking for? Bigger and better than me. I want something much bigger. And so we keep trying, but the happiness eludes us. We can't just seem to have that permanent happiness, that abiding bliss that is much more than just being happy for a few moments. Abiding bliss when you're always happy inside and peaceful and content. So now, what I want to tell you about stress is that no matter which way you look at it, stress is responsible for more than 80% of all the illnesses that we see in the hospital, outside, whether it's mental illness, physical illness, all those things that we see, heart attacks and strokes and and diabetes and metabolic syndromes, they are all linked to stress. But the person who first explained what stress is, and he talked about how stress affects our physiology, his name was Hansele, and he said very clearly, it's not the stress that makes you sick, it's your reaction to the stress. So if you can change your reaction to the stress and not let that stress affect you, then you will not have all those horrible side effects of stress. So what does stress do? You know, if you're exposed to and suddenly in a forest and you're suddenly threatened by an animal, then your stress response comes into play. And so then what happens is you're getting ready to fight this or run away from this threat. So what your body does then is you become very alert, your hearing becomes acute, your heart rate goes up, your respiration, your breathing goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your blood sugar goes up to give you energy to fight or to run. You sweat so you can slip away from the grasp of the animal or whatever the threat is. And so on and on. And you know, your adrenaline is pumping out and your stress hormones are pumping out. So now in the short run, this stress will save your life because now you're prepared to save yourself or fight or freeze or fly. But then if the same stress becomes chronic and unremitting, then this same stress can kill you. So if your blood pressure is high all the time, you get hypertension. If your blood sugar is high all the time, you get diabetes. And then you get inflammation. Stress is responsible big time for inflammation. And inflammation is what causes heart attacks and all these chronic illnesses like arthritis and dementia, cognitive decline as we grow. All these are linked to stress. Now, I'm going to go to just look at nature around you, like right behind you, one beautiful wood. And you find that everything in nature works just perfectly. It is just as it should be. And so if you look at the sun, it'll always come out in the east or set in the west. If you look at the earth, it's always going around the sun. The seasons come, the tides come, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. And if you look at the big picture, the macrocosm, and you look at the sky at night, and you look at this beautiful luminous band, you see this beautiful lit area in the sky, and that is our home. That is the Milky Way. So we are looking at it edgewise, but that edge, see, it's like a disc. It's a circular disc, but we are like a record, but we are looking at it from the edge. That's why we see it as a band. But this thickness is 10,000 light years.
Wow.
It'll take you 10,000 years traveling at the speed of light to just cover the thickness of this disk. And if you look at the whole diameter of the disk, it is a 100,000 light years.
Wow.
That's how big it is. That's our galaxy, and our sun is in the middle of it. But the next galaxy is 2.5 million light years away.
2.5 million light years away.
And if you look at, with the telescopes and all, if you look at as far as your eye can see, in the depths of the cosmos, right to the beginnings of the universe, what you see is 12.7 billion light years away.
Wow.
The edge of our cosmos is 47 billion light years. This is how big our cosmos is.
How vast it is.
And now, but look at our microcosm. Okay, look at our cells, look at our body. 6 trillion cells in our bodies. They all come together and we function as one person, right? Now, our brain has 250 billion neurons, as many as there are.
250 billion neurons?
Wow. Each and every neuron gets input from 10,000 other neurons every second. This is how complex our brain is. right? So, but the nature still works perfectly, right? Every atom works perfectly. Every subatomic particle works perfectly, just the way it's supposed to. So, how is it, first of all, what is it that nature needs to function so perfectly, right? If you look at a mango tree, you'll only have mangoes. You're never going to find strawberries on it. Right? If you look at a cocoon, it'll always come out as a butterfly at the end or a moth.
Right.
You won't see something else coming out of it. So, how is it? What is it that is required by nature to make it work so perfectly? And we know that it's an infinite amount of energy
Energy.
and an infinite amount of power
Wow.
and energy, but also intelligence, information. So, where is this information and where is this energy? So, the scientists tell us that there is a background field of some sort that's all pervading, it's all over the universe. This is now the modern scientists who won Nobel Prizes in physics, and they tell us that this background field is nothing other than a field of energy and information. And they tell us that there is an infinite amount of energy information there. And they tell us that this is the home of all the forces of nature, whether you talk about gravity,
Wow.
electromagnetism, you talk about the atomic forces and the weak interactions. Those are the only four forces we know. That they are all a part of this unified field of all the forces of nature. That,
Wow.
that's as far as we've come. Now, quantum mechanics is a different matter, and they just go into other things, and they're getting closer to the reality. But 5,000 years ago in India, there were sages and seers, and they decided that instead of looking at um, the reality objectively, as science does, that we should look at it from our own point of view, our own self. So we need to look at ourselves first. And they found within their own selves, they found this field, the same field that the physicists call the unified field of consciousness. They found the same field within themselves. So they called it the field of consciousness.
The field of
They
consciousness.
called it the field of consciousness.
Beautiful.
And they said that this is the field that has within it all time and space, all the energy, the power, all the possibilities,
I
uh,
want to.
all every all the potentiality of nature. And they said it also has all the knowledge of the past, present, future. And they said it also has, it's a home, the source of all creativity. And they said we are a part of it. We are not separate from it. And because we are a part of it, we should be able to consciously um, arrive at this source.
Anita, let me pause you for a second. That was so brilliantly and beautifully explained. And the whole time that I listened to you, of course, I have a very childlike brain. You know what comes to me? You're gonna laugh. I'm not even sure if you've seen this movie, Avatar. That
Mhm.
it shows how we are part of nature, how everything is intertwined, and
Mhm.
just like we're dust to dust, we'll go back to that star galaxy, wherever that field of consciousness will come from, and that energy. So I
Yeah.
love that. I just wanted to say to the audience, if anyone is listening and perhaps might find this a little bit complex,
Yeah.
really good movie that will kind of put it like very simple. Like she talks about how we are part of nature, that we're part of this planet, that we're conscious, breathing, living, sentient being, just like the planet is. It
Yes.
would be that movie Avatar. So continue,
Yeah.
please.
So what I was saying was that all the source of all this energy and information is a field. It's a universal field. It's an all-pervading field. It's everywhere, and we are a part of it. So we should be able to go to the source when we want at any time
Yeah.
and get out of it whatever we want because everything's there. All knowledge and creativity, all possibilities, potential, power, information, everything from the past, present, future. There is no time and space here. It's the perfect absolute. It has
Yeah.
everything in it. So when we go into ourselves, this is the field that we arrive at. And when we arrive at this field, we can take anything from it come back to our activity and then use all this. So meditation is what these sages and seers described 5,000 years ago. And what they said to us was that when you meditate, you go into a very different state of consciousness. Your consciousness starts to expand. Your mind expands because there are no boundaries in this place. It's unbounded. There is nothing, that there is no time here. So it's completely infinite. And so space and time wise, your mind expands, your consciousness expands. And then now you're able to get from it as much as you want, whenever you want.
And this is so, thank you for sharing that, because this is the part that later on, before we finish this broadcast, Amita is going to guide us into a meditation practice exercise, because she's leading into this space where we all need to be when we want to get in touch with the source consciousness.
Yeah. So meditation then is a simple and easy method to access the infinite power and knowledge and creativity of nature whenever you want. And there are hundreds and thousands of ways to meditate. But I'm going to tie up everything that I've told you so far. So we live our lives because we want to be happy. And in order to be happy, we stress ourselves. And because of the stress, we get sick and we age and we die without ever achieving our happiness. But when we meditate, what happens is there is a different part of the brain that takes over. It's not the sympathetic nervous system that's giving you the stress response, but now it's the parasympathetic. It's the opposite of the sympathetic nervous system. It's the parasympathetic nervous system that allows your brain to relax. Your breathing rate goes down, your blood pressure goes down, your heart rate goes down, and your mind quiets and you go into yourself. Now, when this happens and your stress is released, there's such a profound degree of rest that you get with this to your mind and your body that your stresses start to be eliminated. And when your stresses are eliminated, then your mind and body becomes normal again. It goes back to wholeness. It goes back to perfection. It goes back to what nature gave us when we started. So we stress it and stress it and stress it, and now we can't access it anymore. But with meditation, you can go down to your source and relax your mind and body to such a degree that all the stress is gone and you normalize. Now, remember what I was telling you, it's not the stress that kills you. It's your reaction. But now, because you have expanded your own capacity to deal with stress by unstressing yourself, by becoming more normal, you can deal with the same stresses that you couldn't before. Now it's easy for you. So the world doesn't change. The stresses don't change. You have changed inside. Yeah.
Amita, that's beautiful. And I want to share that really quick in Spanish. I just summarize what you just said, starting with stress. Mi gente, gracias por tuning in and for listening y por escuchar. Les quiero compartir que Amita hoy nos está hablando del estrés y cómo nosotros podemos manejar el estrés y liberarnos del estrés. Ella nos acaba de comentar que el estrés es una de las causas más grandes que tienen un impacto adverso a la salud, causa la alta presión, la diabetes y muchas otras inflamaciones en el cuerpo y muchas otras enfermedades que nosotros creamos al no saber manejar el estrés que causamos con nuestros pensamientos, porque a pesar de que nosotros no podamos cambiar las circunstancias del estrés, pero sí tenemos el control de cómo reaccionamos a esa circunstancia que nos está causando el estrés. Y una cosa de lo que ella habla es lo importante que estar en conexión con la naturaleza, porque desde ese espacio tú te puedes conectar con la extensión de que nosotros somos parte de ese planeta viviente, sintiente, y eso nos ayuda a calmar y a lidiar con el estrés, y eso es lo que ella nos está comentando hoy. Thank you, Amita. Please continue.
Okay, that's great. I love the way you explain it, even though you can catch some words, not all.
Yes.
So what happens then when you meditate? as your body starts to heal, the first thing that people notice when they meditate, of course, now there are many different types of meditation. There is concentration when you stare at a candle, when you're looking at a beautiful flower, when you're focusing on love and compassion. Those are concentrative type of practices. Then there are contemplative type of practices where you are thinking. So you're quieting down, but as you quiet down in your mind, you become more like a witness to your thoughts or things that are happening in your body or your breathing. And you can observe those as a witness without judging, being judgmental in any way. And that is the contemplation. Those are meditations like mindfulness, like Zen meditation, like the Raj Yoga in India. Those are different meditations. And the last category of meditations is transcending, where you actually, as you meditate, your mind settles down to your own self. You go to the source because now you have actually gone beyond your intellect and the thinking process. You have actually gone to the source.
Yes.
And you are just being yourself. You're not doing anything, you are just being. And that is the transcendental consciousness. That is a different, higher state of consciousness. That's when you get to know who you really are, because there's nothing left there except you. So when your mind settles down to its own source, when you meditate, your mind quiets. It becomes so quiet that quiet, it allows your mind to settle into yourself. And when you settle down into yourself, you are with that same source of nature. So your little self has become the big universal self.
Wow.
Now you are connected to your source.
Wow. How beautiful that is, Amita. Mi gente, si están escuchando, I hope you understand this beautiful, beautiful description or explanation that Amita has shared with us in what is to connect with the source and how we get there, how we cultivate state of contemplation and mindfulness. ¿Cómo nosotros podemos cultivar un espacio de estar aquí presente, en conciencia plena, donde tú te puedas sentar y tener una comunicación con tu divinidad, con tu Dios, con tu Cristo, con la persona que tú crees que es tu benevolencia, y que de la única manera que tú vas a llegar a ese espacio es sentándote, cogiendo varios respiros, meditar y llegar al centro de tu corazón, y cuando tú llegas al espacio te estás conectando con el universo, que el universo está en ti, como la imagen y semejanza que estamos creados esa divinidad. Thank you, Amita.
Yeah, so that is what meditation is. But all the different types of meditation create a change in your brain. I mean, literally, if you did an EEG, which is an electroencephalogram, which is electrical tracing of your brain, you find that all the brain waves come together to function as one unit rather than, they all, instead of being scattered here and scattered there and something here and something there, they all come together to function as one unit. And it happens in a different way with different meditations. And all meditations are not the same. Like I said, some are concentration, like, candle, like loving kindness, like looking at a flower, and then the contemplation, and then there is the transcending, where you go straight to the source. And they all have their techniques. Even simple things like going to headspace, going to calm, all those things are helpful. Any meditation is going to help you. But some can help you very quickly and very fast, and others take a long time.
Now, let me pause you for a second, Amita, because it's very interesting. People often ask me a lot, what is the difference between meditation and praying? Or are they the same? What's the difference? Is there something that maybe you can give insight?
Yeah. Well, of course, praying is a devotion to God, and in praying, you talk to God. But in meditation, God talks to you.
Wow, how beautiful. That's the difference. There you go, mi gente. La diferencia entre meditación y de rezar, que cuando nosotros rezamos, especialmente las personas que tenemos una formación en la cristianidad, que hacemos, estamos todo el tiempo pidiendo pidiendo, pero en verdad tener una comunicación con tu divinidad es escuchar la guía de esa divinidad.
Yeah. So that voice of God that we call the voice of God, right? That is actually, it's coming from your own source. The God, you can think of God as a source too, because it's any name you want, you know. And so of course, meditation has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with the spirit. It's a spirituality. When you go in, you hear the voice of God, you can say, but you are actually hearing a deep intuition inside you, right? Which has connected you now. Now you're connected to that whole source. And so that that beautiful intuition comes in. With the intuition, you get inspired and you have beautiful thoughts, because now your thoughts are much bigger, coming from a much better place, coming from a progressive place, an evolutionary place. When that happens, then naturally your thoughts become powerful. And when your thoughts are powerful, then whatever you do, whatever action you do, then it becomes a powerful intention. Then when you go with your intention, then you start to have beautiful action, because now you are going into the action world, the dynamic activity of your life. And then whatever you do from that level, because that is the truth, that is the ultimate truth, that is coming from the source. And there is nothing in the world that compares to the source. It's the ultimate reality, it's the ultimate truth. So when that leads you to do whatever you're doing, then all your actions become equally powerful, much, much more powerful. They can be as powerful as the material you get from nature when you go to connect, right? So if your container is bigger, if you go to the ocean with a little bit of a little cup of water, you'll come away with a cup of water. But if you go to the ocean with a huge big tankard, then you have a whole tankard full of water. Same way, when your consciousness expands and your own container is expanding, and you go back to this big field of consciousness that's everywhere, you can bring from it whatever you want to make yourself infinitely powerful. You can do anything you want, anytime you want. You create time and space. You are the authors of time and space. You are then the co-creators of your own, you're the architects of your own future. You build your future, right? So that's what happens when you meditate.
Wow. ¿Escucharon eso, mi gente? Did you guys listen to that beautiful explanation of meditation and the sort of benefits that you get out of it, connecting to that source, that yearning that we all have in our heart, that we're always seeking for His feeling, for His guidance? Well, it is in you. We are creating at the image of that vast universe, of the divinity, of that source that many of us around the world call God. It is the same. It doesn't have religion. It doesn't have shape or form. It is a feeling. It is a feeling of love. Y en el momento que nosotros llegamos ahí, llegamos desde el corazón. Ese es el único espacio donde tú vas a encontrar a Dios. En tu corazón, no en tu mente.
Yes, I'll go for the next 5 minutes into the benefits of meditation and how it helps us in everything we do. First of all, every time you meditate, you're releasing your stress. And so what happens is your mind becomes clear when you come out of your meditation, and your energy level is boosted up. So in general, you have that feeling of lightness of being. You just feel lighter and happier. Generally, you're not as grumpy as normal, because now you're more relaxed. Like just when you wake up from a beautiful sleep, you feel more relaxed, and the day is beautiful the same way. And except that you're doing it for a few minutes, and it just makes a huge difference. And also your anxiety and your depression and your panic attacks, all those things go down.
Let me put you for Amita, I want to put you for just 1 second. ¿Escucharon lo que dijo Amita? Lo buenísimo que es practicar meditación y sentarse en un espacio sereno. mira, minimiza el estrés, minimiza la depresión, las ansiedades. Esto, los beneficios que le da a uno físicamente, el saber manejar los pensamientos que uno está cultivando en la mente a través de la meditación, son más de lo que uno se puede imaginar y sin tratarlo. Meditación es muy beneficiosa para nuestra salud.
Yeah. But you also know that in meditation, it changes your whole mind. It actually changes your brain. So if we were to do the imaging studies of the brain, like an MRI in the brain, you'll find that your brain actually gets thicker and bigger as you meditate. The more and more you meditate, the bigger and thicker your brain becomes. Normally, as we age with cognitive decline, our brains become thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. But with this, that aging process doesn't happen. Right?
Hey, escucharon eso, que cuando nosotros sabemos manejar el estrés y aprendemos a meditar, expandimos las neuronas y las sinapsis de nuestro cerebro, se expande. Entonces, lo más importante que me gustó que ella dijo es que nos ayuda a quedarnos jóvenes.
No, yeah. It also helps with things like, mentally, it helps with things like attention deficit disorders. It helps with post-traumatic stress syndromes, addictions. It helps with addictions, helps with smoking, alcohol. It decreases the urge to have all those things. It decreases the cravings because you're already not stressed and you're already feeling full and nice and happy. You don't feel the need for all those things. But also, the way that your brain changes, I told you that your whole EEG changes in the brain, but also if you were to learn meditation today, and 6 weeks later to 8 weeks later, we were to do the same MRI one more time that we did before you started to meditate. Within 6 weeks, your brain, there are parts of your brain that start to grow. So it happens quickly. It doesn't take years and years of meditation.
Wow. ¿Escucharon eso, mi gente? Lo que nos compartió Amita, que cuando las personas empiezan a hacer una práctica de meditar, inmediatamente van a ver los beneficios. Y si vamos a suponer que unos días más antes usted se hace un examen de ecocardiograma, va a enseñar el cambio que ya ha tenido beneficioso en el cerebro y no se toma años. Esto es algo que lo puede empezar desde ahora a ahorita ya. Thank you, Amita.
The structure of the brain changes, the function of the brain changes, the part of the brain that we use in the front, which is called the prefrontal cortex. This is the part that controls your decision-making, memory, concentration. This is the part that controls your executive function, the higher functions. It actually grows in size, right? Wow. And you can see that's where, if you were to do the electrical studies, you see that from the back of the brain, all these big waves, they come and they start and they collect here. And that happens within a few minutes of meditation, at least the transcendental meditation. I know those studies.
Oh, no, I remember when I was studying biology in school that we had a whole semester that we were learning about the brain. And as you were explaining this, I could actually see the synapses and the neurons working, like picture, managing, processing the stimuli, and how when you calm the amount of stimuli that you're feeding that part of the brain.
Yeah.
It makes total sense what you're saying.
Yeah. And so the other thing is that it actually makes us live longer, which is quite interesting.
That's the favorite part.
Yeah. Because, there is a Nobel laureate. She got a Nobel Prize, Elizabeth Blackburn. She got a Nobel Prize for describing the telomeres. These are like little tiny caps at the end of our chromosomes. They're like the little tips, plastic tips at the end of our shoelaces. So if that plastic tip breaks, then the shoelaces come apart. Same way, if our telomeres break up, then it introduces, then the chromosomes start to fray, introduces errors in the DNA in our genes, and that's how when disease occurs, they get shorter and shorter. So the telomere length, how long they are, is indicative of our lifespan.
Wow.
And know that with longer telomeres, if we do healthful things like eating the right diet, doing our yoga, doing our exercises, doing our meditation, all these things increase the length of our telomeres, which means we live longer. But on the other hand, if we have a lot of stress, for example, mothers of autistic children are very, very stressed. If you study their chromosomes and they study a normal mother of normal children, you find that the women who are stressed have aged 10 years more. And so stress can really, really cause your lifespan to become shorter.
Mi gente, quiero compartir algo bien rapidito que ella dijo. Para estos que nos están escuchando, que tal vez quieren tomar una pequeña clue de lo que es mantenerse joven y verse feliz y jovial, pues mi gente, el estrés acelera el proceso de envejecimiento. Ella nos está explicando sobre estas partes del cromosoma que son unas alelos, que si estamos procesando la vida desde un espacio de estrés todo el tiempo, pues eso van a tener un efecto que las van a minimizar, las van a cortar y nos hacen envejecer más rápido. Cuando nosotros estamos cultivando un espacio de amor, de meditación y de paz, esas alelas se hacen más largo, entonces el proceso de envejecimiento se alenta. Thank you.
And so the last thing I want to tell you, which is really interesting, is that I was telling you all along that inflammation is what really causes you can have all the changes in the brain of the beta proteins, and all the amyloids that get deposited in the brain, and all the heart with the stress and the cholesterol and the plaques and all of those things that get deposited, but they won't happen unless you have inflammation in the body. Okay, inflammation is like a fire. It's fire going on in your body, and we all have it because of the wrong foods we eat, not exercising, and all of those things. But meditation is a very important part of this, because there was an experiment where the experimenter, he took people who were experts in meditation and then control subjects. And he did this in Wisconsin and in France and in Spain at the same time. So they took these people, two groups of people, meditators and non-meditators, and they took their genes to study their genes. So how do the genes express themselves? And they found that in one day, after 8 hours, of doing either simple meditation or just doing other contemplative things, the people who were meditating decreased those genes, their expression of those genes that cause inflammation.
Wow.
So that means that's amazing, because it can really protect you against serious chronic diseases.
Escucharon lo interesante, lo más importante que Amita ha compartido, que entrar en una práctica de aprender a meditar, lo más importante, el beneficio más grande que recibimos es cómo nos ayuda nuestra salud física, porque es importante llegar a un estado que podamos aprender a meditar, pues para calmar toda la estimulación que estamos procesando todo el día de nuestras experiencias de vida, sean las que sean negativas y positivas, pero todo lo que está causando el cuerpo trabajar excesivamente nos va a causar situaciones adversas si no aprendemos a llegar a ese espacio, a calmar a nuestras células del cuerpo, y lo hacemos con meditación, y de ahí usted puede aprender a sanarse de muchas enfermedades que también los están afectando. Thank you, Amita. Please continue.
So I think that with that, I told you a little bit about what meditation is, how you get there. I told you a little bit about the benefits of meditation and the science behind it. So, basically the bottom line is that it should be simple, because we are a part of it. It shouldn't be complicated. So because we are just that, we're connected to the source already. We just don't know it. We forgot that we are connected. So when you want to bring yourself back to the self, see, that's when you are with your source. And when you access that source, you can harness all the power and all the creativity of nature in a very simple way. Now, all meditations will help you to some extent, but like I said, some are faster than others. We have done transcendental meditation and we've loved it. We have seen so many amazing benefits in our lives from that. But of course, anything you do, whatever works for you is good. So what I'm going to do now is I'll lead you through a 5-minute, maybe even less, meditation. And this is very, very simple. It's scratching the surface, but at least it'll give you a taste of it. So, Yvonne, what I'll do is, as I give the instructions, I do want you to translate each sentence. Okay?
Thank you. Pause a second. Mi gente, prepárense que Amita nos va a guiar a una práctica de meditación y va a ser solamente 5 minutos y esto es una bendición. Si nos están escuchando o van a velar o a mirar este replay later, este es el momento que una de las expertas aquí en meditación que he estado haciendo por más de 40 años nos va a compartir un ejercicio por 5 minutos. Okay, Amita, I'm ready whenever you are.
I will be using a very generic mantra to lead you through this meditation.
Okay.
And so the first thing we do, and the mantra is so hum.
Hum.
So
Hum. Okay.
So now the first thing we do is we sit in a comfortable position. So you can keep translating, Yvonne.
Okay. Pues vamos a empezar ahora a meditar. Siéntense, lo que ella me está diciendo es que vamos a decir una mantra que se va a decir so hum. Siéntense 5 minutos, siéntense derechito lo más que puedan.
So sit in a comfortable position.
Siéntense cómodo.
Keep your back straight. Doesn't matter which way you sit, keep your back straight.
Mantengan su espalda derecha, no importa cómo, pero mantente con la no, don't hunch, no se doblen, joroba derecha, la espalda derecha, sentaditos derecho.
So upright, we don't want to be lying down or slouching in our couches.
Exacto, tienen que estar derechos, no se pueden tirar para atrás, recostarse de la espalda, no, se sientan derechitos como si fueran una palma en el mar y un árbol directo al cielo.
So now keep your hands in your lap.
Póngase las manos en la falda.
And gently close the eyes.
Suavemente vamos a cerrar los ojos.
You should turn off your cell phones and telephones.
Apaguen los radios, los celulares, la televisión, cualquier cosa que los distraiga.
And now gently close the eyes and now take 2 or 3 deep and slow breaths.
Cierren sus ojos y suavemente tomen de 1 a 2, 3 respiros.
And now gently introduce the mantra.
Y ahora suavemente introduzcan la mantra que ella nos habló, so hum.
Repeating it mentally, silently, inside.
La pueden repetir en su mente, so hum, en su mente, calladito, silently.
So hum. So hum. So now, whenever your attention moves away from the mantra to a noise in the environment or your breath or a sensation in the body, just bring your attention back to silently repeating the mantra. So hum. So hum.
Cuando se encuentre que miren que su mente los está llevando fuera del ejercicio con sus pensamientos, concentren su atención al respiro y continúen diciendo la mantra suavemente. So hum. So hum.
And allow any changes to occur without trying to control them in any way. Whatever happens, that's fine. Right?
Cualquier cambio que usted sienta, cualquier sentimiento, solamente obsérvenlo, no lo traten de cambiar y siguen concentrando la atención a su respiro. So,
and if your attention moves away from the mantra, just simply bring your attention back to silently repeating the mantra in your mind.
So, si los pensamientos te llevan otra vez fuera de tu concentración, sigue trayendo tu atención al respiro, a la mantra, silenciosamente en tu mente. So
we will begin now the meditation.
Y ahora vamos a comenzar la
And
meditación.
we'll continue for about 3 or 4 minutes. I will tell you when to stop.
There you go.
Don't mind the time, okay?
You tell us when to start, Amita?
Yes, I will. So
Okay.
now, are you ready? So why don't we begin now? Close the eyes, sit straight, and take a few breaths. And now, gently start to say, so hum, so hum, so hum. It is time now to release the mantra, let go of the mantra, but keep your eyes closed. Yvonne, please tell them.
Oh, por favor, dejen ir la mantra. Ya no la mencionen, pero continúen con sus ojos cerrados, concentrados en la respiración.
Now bring your attention back to your body. Yvonne, please tell them.
O por favor, mantengan su atención a su cuerpo, traigan la atención a su cuerpo.
Now take a few deep and slow breaths.
Ahora tomen algunos pocos respiro fuerte, profundo, y respiren suave hacia afuera.
And when you are ready, slowly open the eyes. But do it slowly. Don't rush.
Right. Cuando estén listos, lentamente, suavemente, sin prisa, abran los ojos. Wow. Thank you.
It's a simple procedure, but it gives you extraordinary amount of rest. And there are only two rules. One is to go in slowly and come out slowly. You never want to come out fast.
Yeah. Ella nos está diciendo que esto es un ejercicio bien simple para llegar a ese espacio de paz y de relajarse, sacar todo lo que nos está causando sufrimiento y estrés, y que lo hacemos pues de una manera bien lentamente. Llegamos ahí con tranquilidad. Llegamos a ese espacio y estamos tranquilos, calmados, se siente esta paz, como que está flotando casi.
So that's the first rule, come out slowly. The second rule is just find the time, even if it's 5 minutes twice a day, morning and at night. As soon as you wake up in the morning and before you eat dinner in the evening, when you finish your work before dinner, another 5 minutes. And if you want, you can gradually increase to 6 minutes and 7 minutes. You can go up to 10 minutes twice a day. And, by all means, feel free to practice whatever meditation you use because they're all good.
So, Amita nos está diciendo que este ejercicio de meditación es bien beneficioso y que siempre es bueno practicarlo en la primera de la mañana cuando te levantas, por lo menos 5 minutos en hacerlo y luego incrementando cuando ya te estás sintiendo que lo puedes hacer mejor, puedes ir hasta el tiempo que necesites y luego también 5 minutos antes de cenar, antes de que uno se vaya a sentar a cenar, antes de la comida, es siempre bueno coger 5 minutos para calmar la mente y meditar.
So I'll go over it one more time so you remember. So you sit comfortably, keep your back straight. You can cross your legs, sit in a cross-legged position or keep your feet on the ground, hands in your lap. Then gently close the eyes and then very gently, mentally, you start to repeat the mantra, which is so hum. And if any changes occur, if your breathing changes, that's okay. If the mantra changes, leave it, whatever it is. Don't worry, don't change it back to what you think it should be. So whatever changes occur, allow them to happen without trying to control them in any way. And then lastly, if your attention moves away from the mantra and you find that you're thinking something else, or you feel a sensation in the body, or you hear a noise and it jars you, just gently bring your attention back to silently repeating the mantra. You continue in this way for about 5 minutes, and then you come out slowly, but always always come out slowly. You go in slow, come out slow. And you always have that regularity and discipline and commitment to do it, because the benefits are just too many, too numerous to count. It'll make your life blossom in every way. So,
you let me just repeat that in Spanish really quick, Amita? Ella nos acaba otra vez de compartir bien rapidito, nos sumarizó en resumen la práctica que acabamos de hacer del ejercicio de meditación, y bien simple, siéntese derecho con la espalda derecha repite la mantra que se llama Soham, silenciosa y suavemente, coge varios respiros profundos, luego exhala y siempre diciendo la mantra, llegando ahí suavemente, respirando. Si algo te distrae, no importa lo que sea, si se te olvida la mantra, no importa, trae la concentración otra vez para tu respiro y continúa por 5 minutos.
So we are at the end of our time, and those of you who need to leave, please do so. But if you have any questions, I can stay and answer them, or we can do it another time. Whatever's up to you, Yvonne.
We can do it another time, Amita. This was so wonderful. I am sure that people that are going to be watching the replay later, they're going to get so much benefit listening to this talk. I thank you so much for coming over and sharing this space with me.
Thank you. Thank you for me.
Bless you, Amita. Thank you so much. Thank you. And say hello to Sanji. Mi gente, gracias por escucharnos. This has been a blessing that Amita has been able to share this space on this beautiful Monday in Diwali day weekend. It cannot get any better than that. Diwali in many places around the world, including the Hindu culture, and in Indonesia, it means a festival of lights. It is time for renewing, to let it go and no longer serve you pain, suffering, stress, and come a new rebirth again and embrace that beautiful energy that is within you, which is love. That's what the festivals of life means. So thank you, Amita, for sharing this Diwali weekend with me.
Oh, happy Diwali to everybody.
Happy Diwali, and thank you. Goodbye, people. Have a great day.